finally, it is here. For those totally out of it, let me speed people up. Essentially, Gina Carano played Cara Dune on The Mandalorian. She was well beloved by many fans. Not me, I don't care about Cara Dune. But then, we have to be careful in wording this. She wasn't fired from The Mandalorian, but she was not rehired. And here I do agree with people that I think the not rehiring, to be technical, was political in nature. It created a huge firestorm among conservatives that they were being persecuted and locked out. She made some controversial tweets as well as Instagram posts, and according to conservatives, she was blacklisted from the liberal, communist, studio, Hollywood, woke, whatever, the left-wing Hollywood weirdos basically shut her out. But she's back, triumphantly in a trailer for her new film, Terror Terror, basically it's a Western. And it doesn't look awful. It's not irredeemably stupid. It just looks and feels very, very plain and generic. She's just a woman going to take on an outlaw gang and fight them off. And if you know The Mandalorian, this is basically just a Mandalorian episode. Instead of the Mando, the man, it's now the woman who plays the Mando, and it's going to fight off the outlaws. And it is made by legit people. Michael Polish has done some prior work. I don't know his work in detail, but a lot of these people, I don't know who they are. Never heard of these actors or the writer. For what it is, it's fine. I mean, they couldn't spend a lot of money, so they have to be very careful with the budget. Does it look bad? Yeah, one of the things here is how dark it is. The lighting is pretty insane. Is that a stylistic choice? Could they not afford the lighting? It's unclear. It's obviously a very small cast. The stunts are not very remarkable. They basically just have a lot of basic stuff. Gunfights, the dialogue. It's nothing that really stands out. And I don't think Gina's a really great actress. So unfortunately, what is more interesting is not production of the movie itself, but really the reaction. And essentially a lot of these conservative ideologues, not to mention outright right-wing fascists, are just going nuts and crazy saying, "We love you, Gina. This is great, Gina. This is legit. This is amazing. This is awesome." I could not find a single negative comment on the reaction to the trailer. So it is what it is. This is basically being made for a die-hard conservative audience. I don't think it's even going to be released theatrically, so just made for a very niche market. It's made for a niche audience, and for that audience, presumably, they will like what they will get from Gina, which is just a generic Western. But I found it ludicrous. Some people were comparing this to Unforgiven or something, which is a really big classic in terms of the Western genre. I loved it. I thought it was a really great movie. It's one worth seeing again. It's very powerful and ironically very liberal. It has a very liberal critique of the Western in the way that it embodies a lot of horrid ideologies. So it's kind of ironic, but Clint Eastwood has done a lot of work that he's been very critical of right-wing ideology. He himself thinks of himself as a libertarian. He doesn't really identify as a, quote, conservative, but he is very conservative in many ways, but he thinks of himself as a libertarian, and that kind of libertarian ethos is in Unforgiven and a lot of his other movies. But as for this doesn't seem to have the subtlety or complexity or strong thematic pull that Unforgiven or some other better Westerns have. It just seems very plain and obvious. She's using a gun. She's really strong. I would say with The Mandalorian, we did get an impressive look at her physicality. Because again, she did wrestling prior to being an actress. So physically, she looks very powerful and good, but that doesn't tell us she's a good actress. Doesn't tell us this story is good. Doesn't tell us this is a well-directed movie. It just feels like, okay. It's very plain. It's by the numbers. Presumably she'll triumph in the end, or she'll be a tragic hero or whatever. It's all very, very plain. But again, I'm trying to get into the film industry, and whenever you start off, it's going to look a little rough. So I don't really like her politics. I don't think she's a very good performer, but I do think it's legit to say she was being an outcast and they were demonizing her in terms of her being let go from the Mando. I don't agree with that. I think even though Cara Dune, I don't care about her. She deserves to come back, and I see no problem with her portraying Cara Dune or continuing the role. But as for this, which she helped produce, by the way, she's a producer on this, it just feels very plain. There's nothing amazing, there's nothing outstanding. It doesn't look great, it doesn't look terrible, it just feels very okay-ish and very mediocre and very meh. And that's about it. There's really nothing here that's gripping or be like, wow, whatever your politics or whatever your aesthetics, you should really look at this. No, it's like just very, very plain. Very, very plain.